So there's another way to loop through lists that's a little bit easier. It's called a for each loop, and most programming languages have some form of it. So what I've got here is a list of numbers. For this algorithm, I need a variable called minimum because I'm going to be looking through the list to find the smallest item, or the minimum of the list. So I start out by just setting the minimum to the first item. And that's how you always start this algorithm. Just set the minimum to the first item. Then we have this block called the for each. It's in the variables tab. It's way down at the bottom. The for each loop, it's a loop. It goes through whatever list you put right here. Item is a name, a variable name that you use to kind of grab each item out of the list. So inside the for each loop, there's an if statement. If our item in the list is less than the minimum, then we're going to set the minimum to that item. So after you set the minimum to the item, it loops again, and now item is the next item in the list. And so each time you go through this for each loop, you're comparing the next item in the list to whatever you have set to minimum. So by the time you get through the whole list, minimum should be set to the smallest thing. Okay, so that's the basic algorithm of how the for each loop works. We're going to look at another example here. So this one is slightly different, but we're still using the for each loop. So we have our list of numbers again. This time we have a variable called count that we're going to set to 0. And here's the for each loop, just like we had before, for each item of nums. If the item is less than 5, we'll change count by 1, and then we'll say count at the end. So click on what you think count will be at the end of this for each loop.